So good afternoon and welcome to this session. So from now on, you will never learn the same way again. So with the arrival of AI, human and artificial intelligence form a duo that is built on continuous learning, adaptability, automation, and decision support. So today with me, great panelists to talk about the learning organization of tomorrow. So could you please introduce yourself in less than a second?
Hi, do you hear me? Yes? Okay, I should speak louder. I'm Florence Bernet, I'm learning director at ENGIE University. And I'm passionate about learning since 1999, I think. So I'm happy to be here.
I'm Mila Strukova. I'm professor of innovation and associate dean of Innovation Academy at Schema Business School. I'm a telecommunications engineer by training, and I'm happy to see that my choice of studies 30 years ago was the right one. I work in the area of emerging tech and how emerging technology affects innovation, business models, and intellectual property. And I'm delighted to be here to be discussing how organizations today can evolve, adapt, and learn with AI.
Hello, I am Sami Lababi, the founder and CEO of Stelia. So we are a startup of 20 experts in AI. So we started in 2019 with the goal of accelerating education, training, and skill development through AI solutions. Glad to be here.
Mihir Sarkar, I'm head of AI at ENGIE Research and Innovation, and I'm really happy to co-host this panel with Elodie today. I'm also a professor at Sciences Po on AI and deep tech, and also part of the MIT Club of France on the board, and we're really happy to organize this session between MIT and ENGIE in terms of the series that we call Powered by AI, where we bring together practitioners of the field of AI along with practitioners in sustainability and the energy transition, and we talk about subjects at the intersection of both. So we're about Powered by AI that is organizing this session along with the Emerging Technologies report that is published by RNI and that Elodie will briefly talk about. Just a quick note, if you have trouble hearing us, there's an app that you can use. There are QR codes here on the side so that you can plug in your headphones and hear us better.
Okay, and I'm Elodie Dufournel, lead scientist advisor at ENGIE RNI, in charge of the prospective watch and the strategic research partnerships. So today we are here to talk about the learning organization of tomorrow, which is actually a chapter, as Mir just mentioned it, a chapter of this year's edition of ENGIE Emerging Sustainable Technology Report, dedicated to the defossilization of industry. And as you know, this report focuses on technologies that have potential to accelerate the energy transition. So why we have put the learning organization of tomorrow in the report is for all future training and learning to qualify people to work for the energy transition will now respond to that new model, but also in all other fields. So how we have organized the roundtable, it's 4 phases. First, what is the learning organization of tomorrow? Then revisiting Peter Senge's 5 disciplines. We'll continue discussing knowledge, AI role, and human learning in the loop to finish on the significant challenge of the tacit knowledge. So Mir?
All right, so the topic of today is the learning organization of tomorrow. So maybe just as in terms of definition, traditionally as organizations, learning has been about training. Maybe Florence?
I do not agree. A learning organization is not an organization where everybody's got training and spends time in training. Training is a component. It's a key component of a learning organization. But in the word learning organization, what is most important is organization. A group of people that organize themselves towards a goal, and for that, they share a number of structures, especially they share the vision, they share, they think in system thinking, all components are working together. They also have mental models, so the thinking of I can learn, the growth mindset, the ability to be curious and to challenge themselves. And for that as well, they want to go deep for their own expertise, personal mastery. So that's where training comes in, because then they get the skills and they learn together. And that's the learning organization. That's much wider and exciting than just training me here.
So Ludmila, based on your experience at Schema Business School, what does it mean to use AI and new technologies in the process of enabling students and different personas to learn and to grow?
So there are two kind of angles of learning with AI, and what we're trying to do at Schema is to provide students with safe environment to play, like a sandpit. So our pedagogical innovation team, together with team in Montreal developers, developed a AI-enhanced tool for revision, where they can revise in a safe environment with the content which is trusted content. But this is for them to train and play. On the other hand, what we are trying to teach them that AI is just a technology, and we've seen this before. We saw it with Web 2.0, where companies were ignorant to see the change. They didn't realize that consumers could become their own taxi drivers, that they could become, they could run their own hotels. So they completely ignored the empowerment of consumers, and then consumers became their competitors. So what's happening today with AI within the companies, most of the usages are the same usages as before, just quicker and in a more efficient way. But companies, what they don't see, and this is what we tell our students, that the real change is happening outside. You know, among you, I'm sure you're all now your own doctors, your own lawyers, your own designers. I'm sure you've tried all that with AI, right? And you've done it successfully. And this is this new kind of coming empowerment that will change organizations. Much more from the outside than from inside, and this is what we're telling our students, be aware of that.
So what I'm hearing is mindset, experimentation, having a place to try out new things, and then ecosystem and systems thinking.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes.
So in your experience within a startup that's trying to push the boundaries of that, what does it mean to use new technologies like AI agents, for example?
Yeah, first, we think that in a learning organization, skills is at the center. Why skills? It might be obvious, but skills is the end goal that fosters the mission of the company. But often learning is disconnected from skills. So on second, because with the technology change, with AI, the lifetime of skills are decreasing. So it went from 30 years to 2 years, below 2 years, according to OECD. And so AI is moving this change, accelerating this change on, but also bringing a solution to this change by helping to identify the skills that need to be developed for a target job, for instance.
All right.
Yes, I concur. The power of analysis of AI enables to map what you need and to go faster, and also for the user to go faster in finding what they need. So the developing agents, and it's not yet there, but developing agents that enable people to set up their training plan, or to have opportunities to learn, ideas to learn through that. At ENGIE, because we are a big company, and actually I'll remind you that this year is the 10th year of the brand, and we used to be Gaz de France, Suez, and also we have acquired companies across the world. So we are getting together and using the first step of AI, which is HRIS system, to get everything on the system, and also to get people to think through their development needs, using also AI to help them craft development needs that make sense. So we have that now in ENGIE, and getting the human processes around this. Once we have everything set up, maybe we can go further into leveraging the power of AI to learn faster, to get synthesis of a topic, to also get questions from the AI agent, to challenge them. I mean, our kids are using it already. Do you know that? That to review their baccalaureate, they're using AI to ask them questions. Do we do this in the company? Not yet. We should.
So maybe we can talk a bit later about examples of how we can already use AI in our daily workflows to grow and to learn. So from what I understand in this discussion is that we need to start from the strategy of the company, the goals that we're trying to achieve, how to augment the skills of the people that we already have, and then set up a plan and a strategy at the learning organization level so that we can start from those objectives, those goals, and turn them into actionable modules that will make the skills grow for each of the employees within the organization.
It's very important in an organization in this day and age. You need to have the frame, and then people can work around inside the frame, maybe outside the frame, the innovators like you guys. But we need to have this to know where we're going, or else the information is so much that we are lost.
Yeah, innovation comes from breaking constraints, right? Do you have something on the innovation side that you want to add?
Yes, I think what I would like to add is that the nature of skills has changed. So we're not anymore in this static knowledge, but more in adaptive capabilities. The ability to, as you were saying, to challenge, to ask questions, to remain curious even when we get answers very, very quickly, to trust, to know when to trust the machine, but when to push it back a bit. So this is really the essential 21st century skills, not the static knowledge as we know it from before, memorizing text by heart. It's really this adaptivity to the environment and to the objectives and goals.
Yeah, even if sometimes AI is very gifted, you should not trust it fully. As working with an intern, you have to develop your critical thinking on review the sources. Yeah, it fosters also your curiosity, and you shouldn't take every output as a face value.
Yeah, and for that, there is a real difference between free models and subscription models, I must say. That subscription models are much more reliable on this one.
Okay, so let's continue with the further of the topic. Peter Senge has 5 disciplines. So Florence, you already mentioned them, but I will recap them and I will ask you to illustrate them with real example. So shared vision, system thinking, mental models, personal mastery, and team learning. So maybe, I don't know, Sami, you want to start with the mental models and how AI can surface and challenge hidden assumptions?
Yeah, so at Stelia we design our solution with several principles. So first, it should be for human, it's not aimed at replacing human. So that's why we design a step-by-step workflow composed of several AI models and also knowledge graph to control that. This enables personal mastery to ensure, to control, to optimize the solution and to challenge it. Second thing, so this also participates to explainability. You should be able to control the sources of the AI, how it built its output. But also, yeah, critical thinking is key to by analyzing the sources it uses. You can check the critical thinking.
Okay, thank you. On system thinking, maybe Ludmila, you want to tell us a bit about the cross-disciplinary Innovation Academy?
Absolutely. I think when we talk about human AI interaction, we should really focus on the human side. And how can we trust machines if sometimes we cannot trust humans? And sometimes it's not working very well among humans. So of course, being in a business school, we teach a lot of cases. And in many of those cases, we see how companies create value, but they don't manage to capture value. Why? Because there's lack of communication, for example, between R&D and marketing, or technology and strategy. And what we did at Schema, instead of having departments which are discipline-based, we mix professors across disciplines. So we have, in my academy, there are professors of entrepreneurship, finance, marketing, economics. And what we're trying to do, we work a lot on trust. We have cognitive trust. You would be trusting me because I'm an expert and I have publications, but you don't know me as a person. We haven't worked together. So we spend a lot of time on developing the effective trust, which is becoming even more essential today when we work as a virtual team, when we work distantly, and when there is computer in the equation. And how do we create effective trust? We do projects together, share ideas, and it's about social activities as well. You know, we need to have fun to create this synergy. And by doing that, we can have an organization which is adaptive, which is eager to learn, and which remains ready for the future. So it's working.
What I hear is to have a critical mind, trust, and maybe now, Florence, what is our shared vision at ENGIE?
The shared vision for us is clear. It's the decarbonation, so it'd be the best energy transition utility. And so we have the decarbonation for a while now as an objective, but since a few months now, we say we want to be the best. I mean, what is the best now? This is really a challenge for us, because we were already very good. We consider ourselves very good, and we're humble as well as ENGIE. So now to be the best, well, that calls for being a continuous learner, to learn together. That calls also for personal mastery, and be the best in a world of the good enough, because digital is the world of the good enough. How do we make that happen? What does that mean for us? So I'd like also to go a little bit on personal mastery, because the reality is that if we're working with AI, then how do we control that AI is doing a good job if we do not master the job ourselves? And for me, I've been in my profession for 25 years, and I really developed in this, so I can recognize easily what is a good trainer from a bad trainer, a good design from a bad design. But in 20 years, someone in my position, if they use only AI to produce their stuff, will they know exactly? Will they have made the mistakes? Will they have gone through the books that enables them to form their judgment? So that we don't know. And the reality is that we need to really be worried about that, especially for the next generations, because they still need to learn. And to tell them, use AI as an accelerator, use AI to do synthesis for you, use AI to challenge your knowledge, but do not only rely on AI to learn, or to do stuff for you. And on this one, what is interesting as well is the team component. And I think you mentioned that, Ludmila, you had the AI as part of the computer, as part of the team. So how do we really make a team with the AI to learn together, but we still stay the master of AI? The real one.
Yeah. Maybe I wanted to add that it's also a good challenge you mentioned is working collaboratively with AI. So now we used to use AI with only interacting with AI as a partner. This is a good thing to learn, to foster curiosity. But how do we integrate AI in a learning organization, team-wise? On how we foster the collaboration between humans also through AI, on not individualizing the relationship between employees on AI.
So today, I think we're really starting to use AI in a big way individually to improve our individual productivity, and some are more mature than others in using those workflows. I think we need to move slowly towards organizational use of AI in order to revamp the processes themselves, not just individual productivity, but organizational productivity. And I think in the same way that we use new methodologies like agility, so you use the word adaptive, And I think the way we develop new products and services, that also moves towards how we learn, how we grow an organization, and the fact that training is not the only top-down way to train people or to move them up the value chain of skills. We also need a learning loop in some way, where we have teaming between AI and teams of people. And do you have examples on how that can help maybe in the innovation path on skills building towards the goals that we identified?
I think if I may pick up on what you were saying, it's a mistake to think that we are still in control of what people learn and how people learn, because they do a lot of things independently. And there are studies that show that at the workplace, using their personal accounts, huge number of employees are using AI, for different tasks, while their company is thinking that it's all very secure and protective. So it's not about control, it's about guidance. Guidance is important, and we're trying, for example, with students exactly to use that. We know that they have this power of personalized training and learning that they've taken out of the classroom, whereas it's a physical classroom or a virtual classroom. But what we want to make sure is that there is still quality and a reliance that is present. So I think it's important for any organization, to admit that it's out there, we can't control it, but we can still be a curator. I like the word curator, help people kind of choose between the right and the wrong, the reliable, non-reliable information, and also to provide guidance, to be there to provide guidance. That's important.
But for that, you need to collect feedback on analysis of usage. So from the manager perspective, from the trainer perspective, to have a feedback loop on be able to see what are the good practices, what are the bad ones, on also improve the AI. So currently it's mostly ChatGPT, where you don't have any control to let improve it, to adjust it to your corporate, but more and more using custom solutions, you can adjust it, or you can leverage the corporate context to optimize it.
Yeah, today I think we still think about the trainer and the learner. I think at some point we may think of just people who learn from each other. So I think there's formal and informal education and growth. So maybe you have thoughts on that, on how do we observe from others, the way that they work on using either tools and AI or doing their job, and we acquire acculturation and things like that around that.
We did have a great example last year on the first event I had with ENGIE, because I'm quite new to ENGIE, with top leaders. I asked them, after the 3 days, do me a pitch about a leadership paradox. So I put them into groups, and they're supposed to give me a pitch. And as I prepared the pitch on the last day, I realized that 2 groups out of 4 are using AI. And I'm like, oh, the cheaters. She was in the group, I remember. Oh, the cheaters. And I was not happy about that. Then they pitch. And out of the 2 groups, one of them had a really, really good one, and we really had a laugh. And you could see AI has helped in the narrative. And there was, the best one was done completely Gen AI free. That's how I call it. So that was my first experience. And then a few weeks down the line, I have another group of people, and it's a completely different group of employees. And in the group of employees, in the cohort, I have the Gen AI champion for the group. It's in GBS. And she says, for the exercises, I want them to use Copilot, because I want Copilot use to be spread out. They used it, and they had pitches as well, and we had so much fun, because what they did is that they really use it as a support to make their pitch better. And even one of the group had a karaoke song made out of a Gen AI bot. And now, in my instructions, I say, you can use Gen AI to help you. But I say, be careful, because we will see if we're just using Gen AI first level, and we will see the quality of it, and we'll say it's flat, or if you use it to really help you do something better. And so I think that was a really good use case on that one.
So on the individual level, I think, so I don't know if you know the hole-in-the-wall experiment. Are you familiar with it? Hole-in-the-wall was an experiment several years ago where this professor from the UK went to a small village in India and put a computer, free service to children in the village. And after a few months, he came back and saw how they were collaborating with each other, trying to understand how to use the computer, how to acquire information, and some of them were trained in geography or history and just by themselves without any instructions. And I think the point you made about giving a tool and letting them explore is an important first step in acculturating people towards the usage of these new ways of learning, collaborating with each other because you may learn from others what's the best practice in using this tool or this other tool. But then from the organization perspective, we want to maybe limit that as well because at some point we want to have a framework that everybody follows. We don't want shadow AI happening everywhere.
I really like this idea of using a very different learning perspective when it comes to new technology. I think sometimes we're being constrained by the existing knowledge and experience and not being helped. And I can give an example from another technology, which is 3D printing, where usually someone would have to have technical knowledge to create a model to be printed. And I worked with kids, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, who wanted to print out their own My Little Pony, and they didn't know how to use software. But it didn't matter because what they did, they used Play-Doh. They made little ponies, scanned them, and printed them. And all the adults in the room were like, really? You could have surpassed the software? This is, that was so opening to us that you don't have to use the old skills or the old way of learning. You might even, we are told, do not reinvent the wheel, but we may be reinventing the wheel. It might be useful sometimes.
No, I think that's a good point. I mean, the best motivator is wanting to do something and then learning the skills to be able to reach that objective, right?
Okay, so another challenge is tacit knowledge. The knowledge which reside in our experiences, expertise, and intuition. So let's discuss how we return and transmit this tacit knowledge. So the judgment, the intuition, and the context, the invisible skills in the edge of the automation. So how do AI systems learn nuance such as tone, context, and tacit judgment? Maybe, Sami, you have a...
Yeah, so with AI, of course, you have to make everything explicit to ensure that the output is correct according to what you were expecting. Of course, if you are missing some implicit facts or some context and you just request an answer, you will certainly be deceived. So first, it might be a good thing to ensure that you try to explicit everything that might be implicit, and you can discover that you need to collaborate with your team to identify missing points. So this can foster collaboration to ensure that everything is written or at least explained and shared. And this is a good revelator of all the knowledge that you keep in mind at every employee and that is not shared fully. So
it's interesting because we can see through the prompting that there is a rehabilitation of writing. Gen AI tools, they don't read PowerPoints that well. They don't understand it. And now I'm very happy because I love writing, that I'm being asked to write notes like in Amazon, and it's true that through the prompting process, you are obliged to ask yourselves questions, or you can ask. What I do normally is I ask the tool to tell me what are the questions that I should look at to respond to this problem, and then it gives me a lot of questions, and I have to answer them, and so then I'm forming my own opinion.
So maybe. Teaching the machine becomes a way for us to learn? Is that a...
Exactly, and also you can't teach everything to AI, so you should be able to ingest some existing documents, some culture of the company, because you don't want to explain everything about your company for every prompt.
I think another point which is slightly overlooked are cultural differences. Because I was in a kind of trial project in a group where I ended up with someone from North America and someone from North Europe, and the way they were prompting, it was just so, the way they were even talking, it was just so different. And I could see that, you know, making them prompt in a different way would be really forcing them. And do we actually want that? Perhaps we want to keep this, you know, individual way of talking to computers. So this question of our cultural differences, you know, background, etc., it might be something we can exploit when working with AI.
I think that's a really good point, because as a large organization, and I think Florence, you know that we're in different geographies, taking into account this this cultural difference, but also from the perspective of the profile of the people we interact with. So engineers might prompt differently than people from the business side. It's an interesting point.
Yeah, definitely. And what, in your opinion, what impact could this cultural difference have on memory or transmission of the knowledge?
Sorry,
the impact it could have on the memory or the transmission of this knowledge?
It might have, I mean, and that's an anecdote that dates back from 15 years already, so it was way before AI, but there are things that are properly human and that no algorithm or no program will be able to catch. And I remember this anecdote from the Lafarge cemetery, where they had people that were managing the ovens for the cement, and at some point they replaced them with a program that knew exactly the right temperature by their chemist lab they had set. All the cements were bad. Why? Because the operator knew exactly when to stop or how to manage it themselves at this stage. So now, 15 years down the line, is technology and the way we calculate, etc., able to reproduce exactly this? I don't have the answer, but I still doubt it. I think there is still something about that. And we see that in the pictures that GenAI is generating, there is something synthetic about this. And by the way, the risk that we have today is that the synthetic content is starting to be a lot, especially on images. And therefore, the models, the LLMs, are training themselves on synthetic content and not authentic, not genuine. It's like cotton and synthetic thing. And therefore, we need to be even more careful with what we use.
I absolutely agree with what you were saying, and I think what you mentioned just earlier about students using it for back, I have an example of kids of 11-year-olds who now use ChatGPT. And I told my daughter, I said, you'll be one of these rare humans who can still, you know, have some human skills. So no, you do things the old way. But jokes apart, I think before we even think about learning organization for adults, you know, it's important, of course, to look at it at the university level, but even going, you know, much before that. Because the risk is that by the time these kids go to universities and then they become our workforce, it will be exactly that. The only thing that they can do is synthetic content, and there will be no creativity. So it's really something that goes way beyond the learning organization.
But remember, we had the problem with YouTube. It's 20 years, YouTube, and we said, oh, they will only watch YouTube. But it turns out tutorials are really super popular. And so kids started to do some smudge and things like this. Mind you, that was horrible in my family. But so it generated curiosity. Now it's true that we are at the next stage, and we need to tell them, and it's about discipline. We need to tell them, you need to learn by yourself. You know, even though my son wants to become a doctor, I'm telling him, yes, you will have software that will help you, but you still need to understand what's going on. You cannot, the software will not do everything for you.
Yeah, exactly. You have to let them use it freely to identify new usage, and you will foster very good practices, but also bad practices that you need to observe and correct and give some directions to avoid this kind of bad practices. So I remember a story from a university professor that encouraged to the students to use generative AI, but of course to change, adjust, etc. And the average student was fearful of the professor detecting that it might be too good for him as the output. So they were just using it and then adding some errors into it, just to make them more human, more so on very basic errors like spelling errors, incorrect facts. So this is obviously not a good practice on not learning them anything.
But I've just heard, just on another stand, Michel Barabel from Sciences Po, who said that now, at first they said to their students, don't use AI. Of course, they managed to bypass. And now the rule is, if you are writing your report, you can use AI, but there is an annex on which you will explain which prompt you have used and how you have used that content to make it better. And a part of the grade, and a significant one, is on that particular part. So I don't know whether Schema is doing it, but I think it's a good practice. It's a good way of seeing things.
Yes, we encourage the responsible and creative way of using it. So another example I can give is about writing a business plan. And then again, this is not something you ask students to do now, because what they do, they use AI to do this. So what we ask them to use AI to write a business plan and then to criticize the business plan written by AI. This is very similar to the previous technologies. We call it, in my research team, we call it digital Aikido. You know, use the power of your opponent, right? There is this huge energy and a lot of power, and it's a bit silly to just let it go. So use this power, use this energy, turn it against your opponent.
But
I love this.
Yeah, I think it should be the same for corporate. So you should encourage sharing of prompting for various use cases and collaboration around this prompting to see what is good, what is producing good results. And then the next step can be the creation of specific agents for the different use cases.
So as educators, we use AI, students use AI, so we really have to shift the kind of skills that we want to teach and the kind of skills that the students will learn. So before we open the floor to questions, there's this quote by Darwin, so I won't be verbatim because I don't remember it exactly, but it says that survival and evolution is not just based on intelligence alone, it's based on adaptability to change. And I think the learning organization is really the adaptable organization. If we want to survive, it means that we have to be adaptable, and adaptability comes from this upskilling of people within the organization and changing the way, the mindset of people, culture. So if we were to go further down the line, maybe as a last closing comments, one question is, how do we foresee the future of learning in the context of organizational change where AI is a large part of the human-machine teaming? So that's one question, and you can choose which one to close with. The other one is, on the personal level, as we are entering the workforce or in the workforce, what are the skills that are required for us to be relevant in the future? Maybe Sami first, and then we'll...
Yeah. So I think first to exchange with your colleagues, how they are using AI, how to identify the best practice and to learn from it. So this is a basis of learning organization, learning from the others as well, not just top-down learning. Then so this is about skill of collaboration. And also critical thinking, because you don't take everything that is coming from your colleagues at face value, so you have to evaluate and see what is good for your case and for your team. I think that's the first step to use AI.
I think I'll take a slightly different angle. What I do tell my students that humans will be rare, right? So focus on humans, on networking and creating relationship with humans, because everyone is going to be doing AI, using AI, but what's going to make a difference are your networks, your connections, and your relationships. And it will be very rare, right? So for me, that's the focus. Technology changes, humans are still around. So.
And my answer would be really from the organizational standpoint as a representative of the university, because I believe that organizations have a responsibility to structure learning in a sense of what are we learning, the shared vision, what should you be learning, and secure learning resources in the age of the so many learning resources, to secure things so that people know where to start and people have a path. And at the same time, play both levels, get them free to learn by themselves as much as possible, invest time, rehabilitate. You have to restore the time in learning as a work time, like the time that I'm spending having the discussion with you guys is not time that I'm losing. I'm not producing, but I'm learning at the same time. So those are two key messages and two key missions that organizations have to do. And I would add the last one in the responsibility of being a big organization is to ensure that the people that are the further away from this revolution get on the boat. And we do have a key responsibility, and I must say organizations are still lagging behind, and we are leaving some people really behind, even though they use social media, even though they have a telephone, etc. They are far away from what we're discussing right now. So we need to work on that.
So on your second point, it reminds me of the saying we have, which is learning by doing. So maybe doing your job in new ways, iterative ways where we bring in and experiment with new technology is a way for us to continue learning within our environment and jobs. So maybe a few questions from the audience.
So who wants to go first?
Hello. I was wondering how robust are going to be those skills if they disappear every 2 years?
I just had an insight last week about that, to be honest. This thing about skills last 2 years, I don't believe in it. If you put into the skill the ability to review, update, upgrade your skill, then the skill will continue. Mind you, maybe some code like COBOL, we don't need anymore. I agree. But core skills like critical thinking, coding, the way of coding, the logic of coding, you just update it with the new way of doing it. So for me, this is a little bit, it's a little bit like consultancy thing to sell you stuff and to make you fearing what's going to happen.
I think it's more about hard skills that are evolving faster and faster. So soft skills, of course, are key on also to be able to manage your time, to spend your time, to have a devoted time for learning with your peers, learning alone also, but not only alone, because AI is at this stage focusing people to be alone with AI. One key is to find a way to use it collaboratively.
I quite agree that soft skills always have more importance. I mentioned at the very beginning that I'm telecom engineer by training, and when I was starting it was Minitel times, right? So we're very far from Minitel with prompting and everything, but it doesn't really matter because if you know how to critically address any of these technologies, you can adapt. So it's more about focusing not on the hard skills. Sometimes they might matter, might not, but really the mindset and how to look at the technology.
Any other question in the audience?
So big up to our panelists today. So Florence Bernet, Ludmila Sryukova, and Sami Lababi, and Mihir Sarkar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the Powered by AI series is going to take a pause during the summer. But if you're interested in more talks that are happening again starting in September, there's a QR code here on the slide behind that you can use to sign up. Thanks, everyone.